Good evening, everyone. I am Sarah, and you are watching Space the Final Frontier above and beyond an open-minded channel. Tonight, we are retelling the Don Shrum story of his terrifying 1966 UFO encounter, a fight for survival in the Sierra Nevada. This is our version of how an interview with Don may have went if we had sat down with him as he recounted one of the most chilling UFO encounters ever recorded. We are presenting to you a rare, unique look into our take of a conversation with a man whose story has haunted the UFO community for decades. His name is Don Shrum. In 1966, Don claims he experienced something deep in the Sierra Nevada wilderness that defies explanation: a night-long encounter with unknown beings, a fight for survival, and a brush with the extraordinary. While hunting deep in the Sierra Nevada's Mokelumne wilderness, Don found himself stranded overnight in the forest. But he wasn't alone. A glowing cigar-shaped UFO appeared in the sky, smaller orbs descended into the trees, and strange armored beings, accompanied by glowing-eyed robot-like figures, surrounded him. Clinging to a tree all night long, Don endured gas attacks, blackouts, and a terrifying standoff with non-human entities. Armed only with his bow and arrows, he fought back, desperate to survive until dawn. This is not just a UFO sighting, it's a survival story. A night of terror, a man versus the unknown. This retelling of the Don Shrum story is for your entertainment only and not intended to be used for any other reasons, so sit back, relax, and enjoy. This isn't a campfire tale, this is his truth. Tonight, Don sits down with us to share what really happened. Don, thank you for being here with us tonight. Let's start at the beginning. Tell me, what were you doing in the Sierra Nevada mountains that weekend?
Well, it was supposed to be just a regular bow hunting trip with my friends. I was 26 years old back then, working as an aerospace engineer. I loved the outdoors, and hunting was something I did as close friends to relax and unwind after a stressful week at work. We headed up near the Mokelumne wilderness. Beautiful country, but wild. After we arrived, we agreed to split up during the day to cover more ground, then regroup by evening. But as the sun dipped lower, I realized I'd lost track of time and distance. I kept moving, expecting to hear the guys back at base camp, but the forest grew quiet. Too quiet. Before I knew it, I was alone. The light fading. No sign of my friends.
That must have been unsettling. What did you do next?
Unsettling, yes. But I figured I'd spend the night out there if I had to. I'd done wilderness trips before. What really made me uneasy was the thought of predators. Mountain lions, bears. Those woods aren't empty. So I decided to climb a tree, make my night camp up off the ground, and wait until morning to find my way back. I thought that was the smart choice. Turns out, it saved my life.
When did you first notice something unusual was happening?
It was after full dark. I'd settled into the branches, not comfortable but safe enough. I remember staring through the trees at the stars when suddenly one of them moved. At first, I thought it was a plane, but it wasn't flying straight. It glided silently, then hovered. No sound, no engine. Then I saw it, a large, glowing, cigar-shaped craft, just hanging in the sky. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, but then smaller lights detached from it. Glowing orbs, maybe 3 or 4. They floated down into the trees, moving like they had intelligence, like they were searching for something. Searching for me.
So you believed even then that they knew you were there?
Yes, there was no other explanation for how they moved. They weren't random. They swept through the branches, glowing, pulsing. I held still, heart pounding. I didn't dare move, but I had the sinking feeling they were closing in on me.
Tell us about the beings. What did you see when they came closer?
That's the part that still makes me shiver, even after all these years. From the trees below, figures began to appear. They were not human, not animals. They were short and stocky, their bodies bulky like they were wearing armor or some kind of suit. They wore helmets that were large, round, reflective. Their movements were jerky, mechanical almost, like their limbs didn't bend the way ours do. And then, something worse appeared out of the trees. Two robot-like beings, taller, with glowing eyes that cut through the darkness. Their heads swiveled as if they were scanning the forest, like machines. I'd never seen anything like this before.
And at that time you were sure they saw you up in the tree?
Oh, yes. They knew exactly where I was. They stood at the base of the tree, heads tilted up, staring at me. I can still feel their gaze. One of the robot-like things approached the tree and raised its arm, and that's when I realized I was in real trouble.
I have to admit this sounds pretty terrifying. What happened next?
The robot started to spray something, a mist or a gas. It floated upward. It had a strange, acrid smell. My eyes burned. My lungs felt like they were going to burst. It was like breathing fire. I coughed, choking on the thick smoke as I was trying to hold onto the branches. The world began to spin, and I blacked out. When I came to, I was still in the tree, but they were still there, waiting and watching me.
So why do you think they didn't leave when you passed out?
I believe they wanted to take me, but they were unsure if I was really knocked out. They were stunned when I had resisted the gas, that was clear. The moment I began to stir, they sprayed me again, and I would clutch the tree with everything I had. I was terrified that if I fell, I would be taken. This happened over and over. I don't even know how many times I had passed out and came to, but every time I could see again, there they were, still trying to get to me, still testing my resolve. It was like a game of endurance. Would they outlast me, or could I hang on until they gave up?
So what did you do? Did you try to defend yourself?
Yes, I wasn't about to just sit there and let them take me. I had my bow with me and a few arrows. In desperation, I drew back and fired. I hit one of them. I swear I did. The arrow struck, but the being didn't go down. It staggered, but there was no blood, no cry, just a metallic clang. Like I'd hit steel. I fired again, at the robots this time. The arrows bounced off like they were nothing. That's when I realized for sure that the robot figures were armored machines, but I think my resistance surprised them. They pulled back a little and regrouped. That gave me hope. Maybe I could last through the night until help came.
I can't imagine what it was like going through this living nightmare. Can you describe how you felt?
Hell. Absolute hell. Imagine hanging onto a tree, gas filling your lungs, blacking out again and again. Every time you wake, they're still there. Their glowing eyes staring up at you, studying your every move. Their helmets reflecting the faint light. The silence, except for my coughing and the rustle of movement below. At one point, I thought I saw more figures in the distance. Maybe a dozen watching and waiting. Were they all for me? Was I some kind of test subject? I prayed. I begged. I fought to stay conscious. My hands blistered from gripping the bark of the tree. My body trembled from breathing in the noxious gas. Every time I thought it was over, I'd come to again, and I was still in the nightmare.
Don, this is so intense. How did this ordeal end?
Just as the first light broke through the trees, I opened my eyes to see that they were leaving. Their craft lifted silently above the trees, the orbs rejoined it, and it glided away. No sound, no trace, it simply vanished. I was alone again. Just me and the forest. But I was wrecked. My lungs burned. My body ached. I'd barely survived. When I finally stumbled back to my friends, I could hardly speak. They could see I'd been through something, but how do I explain to them what had happened? Who would believe me?
Did you tell anyone, and how could you hold back such an amazing encounter with aliens trying to capture you and possibly harm you?
I wanted to shout it from the rooftops at first, but I worked in the aerospace industry. Back then, if you talked about little aliens and robots in the woods, people marked you as crazy, and you put your life and career at risk. My reputation was at stake. I managed to keep it inside of me for years, even though I wrestled with the thought of what had happened to me daily. If it weren't for my wife, I don't know what I would have done. She was the only one who knew the full truth. Sometime later, against my better judgment, I decided to share my story with some researchers. But even then, people laughed. They called it a hallucination, exhaustion, imagination. But I know what I saw. I know what I lived through. Why me? I'll carry these thoughts with me until the day I die.
Don Shrum's story remains one of the strangest in UFO history, not just a sighting, but a battle. A night-long confrontation between man and the unknown. Whether you believe his account or not, one thing is undeniable. Something happened in those woods, something that left Don shaken for life. Was he the target of an abduction attempt? A witness to extraterrestrial technology? Or a man caught in a nightmare of survival against something far beyond our understanding? We leave that for you to decide. You have been watching Space: The Final Frontier, above and beyond an open-minded channel's retelling of Don Shrum's UFO encounter. If you have enjoyed this interview, please feel free to give us a shout-out and like and subscribe. And as always, remember this story is being presented to you for entertainment purposes only, and these are not Don's actual words, but the story is his. Thank you for joining us tonight. Remember, the skies are vast, the universe infinite, and sometimes the answers find us when we least expect them. Good night.